Jimmy Dore is a comedian with a YouTube stream, a political show, like a lot of comedians these days end up stumbling themselves into. And he formerly, uh, was a general kind of off the ground comedian, and then started doing stuff around political commentary. And one of the first people to get in that political commentary that he was really into was Janky Uger of the Young Turks. Founder of the Young Turks. He had Jimmy Dore on for some things as early as 2012. It was cool because you had people on the panel who were not just like political junkies like Jank, Uger, Anna, John. A lot of the folks who would usually be on the network at the time, back in 2012 and 2013, that even include Dade Rubin. More on that in a different show. But Jimmy Dore was around the network at the time, was an out and out kind of person calling for the gamut of left wing, left leaning issues, social justice issues of that nature, and was sort of seen as a progressive. When I started working at TYT, he was hosting a show called Aggressive Progressives. And that was where it was supposed to be like a member show, uncensored, Jimmy talking about whatever he was talking about. What I then learned was that Aggressive Progressives was quickly a dumpster fire that was going out of control. And so reminder, I started working at TYT interning around 2013, 2014, officially started like working there on a full-time basis in 2016, and then super full-time in person 2018, then left in 2020. These things happen in 2 years, so to speak. So I have a lot of experience from the inside and out with Jimmy Dore, and including in 2018 working on a show, Aggressive Progressives. And the previous producer who had worked on that show had emotional trauma from dealing with Jimmy Dore every single week. It was just difficult, and I don't blame him because anyone he disagrees with, he yells at, he berates, he sort of gets cartoonishly angry. And I'm going to show a lot of examples from that here, but the reason it's relevant is because in this context of Donald Trump becoming this, well, not becoming this, but in this world where Donald Trump is now under investigation by the FBI, by the New York Attorney General's office, people are looking into him. And this is a good thing because Donald Trump needs to be held accountable for his actions and his behaviors. If you break the law, you cannot be you cannot be above the law just because you're elected to office. Because there are people in Trump's inner circle who are saying Trump might need to run for office because that's the only way we may be able to guarantee he's above the law. Because he can call the shots on who's investigating him and he can apply pressure to their bosses and their colleagues. Jimmy Dore is turned around from being someone who's on the left, someone who proclaims to fight for progressive liberal values, regardless of party, Democrat or Republican Party, but against corruption, against the powerful, fighting the powerless. Jimmy Dore is turned into a fan of Trump. And it's kind of undeniable here because he's proudly doing it. And this part where it begins, he tweeted, quoting Nina Turner's tweet. Let me make sure I don't like tag my messages here. But when lefties cheer on the FBI, you know they're serious about being a Democrat. Nina Turner had said, "My fallout of the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago is that we're probably going to see a bunch of MAGA Republicans call to abolish the FBI." Which, by the way, is exactly what happened. This is a Nina Turner prediction from the night we heard of the Mar-a-Lago raid, 7 p.m. on August 8th. And to a T, that's what happened. You see, folks like Nina Turner, folks like Ben Collins, 1_, folks like myself, who have our finger on the pulse of politics and we're looking at all this stuff all the time to try to make sense of this for other people who can't pay attention to this all the time or don't want to subject themselves to this all the time, which I understand. We're right about this stuff because we're looking at it. Jimmy Dore, who doesn't read the things that we produced for him, says, when lefties cheer on the FBI, you know they're serious about being a Democrat. Now, I, Dan from the internet, am no defender of the FBI. And Cesar, I don't think you are either. The FBI is not a friend of PowerPort. Not a friend per se, right?
Not an ally. We're not an ally. They're not an ally of PowerPort at all. I'm sorry.
I'd agree with you there. The FBI has had a history of, a very storied history of infiltrating leftist organizations, infiltrating groups and trying to discourage resentment and sentiment by causing fights within groups and preventing them from actually getting to a point where they can find progress. But this is a rare time. I mean, this happens fairly often, to be fair. The FBI does a lot of overreach, but they also catch a lot of criminals. And not often enough, but sometimes they're even catching criminals in the government who work for the government and they're doing shady things. A lot of times this is like lower level stuff. We have some government employees like stealing documents or massaging documents or working with foreign agencies or whatever to launder money. These are lower cases because these are like former these are like low level file cabinet people, so to speak, right? But when Jimmy Dore says, when lefties cheer on the FBI, you know they're serious about being a Democrat, trying to be sarcastic by saying, oh, you can't be a serious person and cheer on the FBI for any single reason. Nina Turner's not really cheering on the FBI here. No one here is really cheering on the FBI. We can say that it's good that Trump might actually face some accountability and some justice for what's going on, while also pointing out that the FBI ain't shit. They just happen to be helping us out right now. They happen to be doing something that is within our interests. Cesar, what do you think?
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's really funny. It's like, I know he thought he had a good one right there. He typed up a banger, right? He thought he had a banger tweet. He's like, let me capitalize lefties because, I'm about to get crazy right now. Let me capitalize Democrat because I'm about to get real buck wild. Here comes a tweet. I'm going to fire up this banger. My friend, Nina's tweet isn't even it's not even pro FBI. She just said, y'all are so goofy and predictable. I know you're going to be saying abolish FBI because they did something you didn't like a bunch of bozos you are. And that's what you did. So it wasn't even being pro FBI. She's like, I know you guys who are like always hating on us for saying abolish the police are going to switch sides because they came at you funny. And that's literally like she called it to the T.
It's infuriating how it's not playing dumb. It just is being dumb. It's just idiocy. But the fight continues, so to speak. I want to get up the response that Nina Turner had, because to play this game with someone like Jimmy Dore is, dodgy, because Jimmy Dore often just yells over women and has a interesting relationship and situation with people of color, myself included. But
when we run up on them, let me know.
Hold. Jimmy Dore sort of continues this sort of spree of trying to prove himself to be correct. So he retweets someone basically saying, this person is a Democrat. Democrats are right-wing authoritarians. For coming to my TED Talk, thank you, I do. Which I don't see that as being that impressive. But basically this was a subtweet of Jimmy Dore saying, if someone on the left is telling you that Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lowen Boebert are potential allies to the left, you're witnessing a grifter that's doing nothing but putting marginalized communities in danger. We don't need to build coalitions with right-wing authoritarians. I mean, this is in reference to a lot of different things. Jimmy Dore's been trying to court an increasingly right-wing audience over the years, including that time he had a Boogaloo Boy, the group that is trying to bring apart a second Civil War, Civil War II Electric Boogaloo. That's kind of their idea.
AKA, we're trying to get clapped again.
Right? Jimmy Dore had one of those guys on. I was trying to say, listen, this guy is actually a leftist. This guy is actually for the things we're talking about here. Absolutely insane. So this is kind of some of the stuff that he's tweeting out and talking about, retweeting. This is a thing that he loves to do, is just tweet responses to things so he doesn't have to say anything. Nina Turner certainly went scorched earth yesterday and further illuminated that leftists do not belong in the Democratic Party, which is an authoritarian, neoliberal, imperious corporation that caters to its donors.
Oh,
look at the word salad there. Authoritarian, neoliberal, imperious corporation. For what? Saying that potential accountability for Donald Trump is a good thing? This is like zero vibrational like thinking, right? This is like no thoughts, head empty, as a mindset, as a grind set. Like, I am going to simply wake up and think nothing. That's like the Jimmy Dore like iota, okay?
That's just a whole lot of sentences. It's not even making any goddamn sense. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Neoliberal? You get called every single name in the book because you think that someone did something illegal and they're being held accountable for it. And we've actually seen through the January 6th trials that this man has felt that he's bigger than power in itself. He feels like he's bigger than the law and everything. The FBI took an initiative and had to do something. And it's the Democratic Party is authoritarian because of accountability on illegal action? Huh? Literally, are they talking into the mirror? Because it looks like, hey, man, who are you right now? I don't think they know their own identity.
It's nuts. Jimmy Dore continues kind of trying to make this about him, though. Nina Turner tweeted, when Jimmy Dore knocks a black progressive woman, I'll make this bigger, 1 second. When Jimmy Dore knocks a black progressive woman for pointing out conservatives' hypocrisy when it comes to the FBI, you know he's serious about being anti-black and protecting conservatives. Conservatives were okay with the FBI when it came to the Panthers, MLK, and Malcolm X, and now they have a problem with it. Again, this is Nina Turner's tweet. If you have a problem with me pointing that out, you're doing the bidding of these conservatives, which Jimmy is. That's the whole point. Is that like, we're laughing at Republicans who have been about defund the police, use the FBI to go after those Antifa Black Lives Matter thugs in recent history and in history. And we flip, they go 180, not because of some legitimate situation in which a standard war criminal Republican president, a George W. Bush, if you will, was wrongfully accused of stealing money somewhere, right? Like, let's put that hypothetical scenario. It's not dropping the ball for that. It's not Republicans going armed to the teeth for that. It's not Steven Crowder having a litmus test about defunding the IRS for that. It's over Donald Trump, a crook, a noted person who loves scamming people, who's a con artist, who has gone bankrupt multiple times and yet says he's a genius deal maker and an awesome business person.
Yeah. Jimmy Dore, I got a simple sentence for you. You're a bozo. Jimmy Bozo is your new name, dog. You're an absolute bozo for this.
He just keeps digging. He's going to keep digging. And there was one point a while ago. This is why Jimmy Dore is such an idiot. Jimmy once at one point Nina Turner did say, "I've admired Jimmy from afar. He says things I can't say." Apparently Nina Turner said that, which is possible because again, Jimmy Dore was at one point a loudmouth truth sayer for the actual left and for the actual left interests. There wasn't a lot of substance to that, as we're quickly finding out, as he learned that he could pivot that language and continue to do no effort in producing to then turn into a right-winger or try to turn into a contrarian, try to turn into the same type of FBI plant that the FBI used to use to break up leftist organizations. Jimmy Dore saying things like, "I called her out for cheering on FBI and she uses the cheapest, ugly form of identity politics as a shield. Truly repulsive. FYI, she's against defunding the FBI and she sits on Cleveland Police Foundation Board." Jimmy Dore, your dad's a fucking cop. Jimmy Dore, you've done comedy bits about how your dad's a cop and he gave you a job out of school because you were too much of a fuck up, okay?
Nah, fuck it. Hashtag defund my dad.
All right? Jimmy Dore trying to shine the light on, oh, did you know that he's a secret cop? Jimmy Dore, your whole family's cops. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Dan, tell him this man's acting up right now, because it's literally like, I literally said it earlier, these people all live in a house with no mirrors. They're just talking into the walls.
What did you say about Jimmy Dore over here? He's a bozo? No.
Jimmy Dore is a bozo.
Jimmy Dore is a fake. He's a liar. He's trying to say that, like, Nina Turner is some secret cop, and he comes from a family of cops. What an absolute poser. I have a funny ass clip about Jimmy Dore later, but like the audacity that this man has to come up in a black woman's mentions, the history of policing and like the FBI in black culture, to come up in a black woman's mentions and talk about how you're defending the FBI and you don't know what you're talking about because you're a neoliberal shill and you care about the Democratic Party. Nina Turner just ran and lost multiple elections against establishment Democrats to try to fight against them. Jimmy Dore, what did you do? You bought a house in Studio City. You talked about doing some fake presidential campaign with the People's Party just to do some emails to get some people to watch your stupid live streams with your unfunny jokes. And then you're on Nina Turner's ass saying she's the fake one? Ride these nuts, Jimmy Dore. You're a bozo.
Hey! Hashtag Jimmy is a bozo, dog. Tell him, Dan. I don't know about the writing part. I mean, that's all, go live off. But yes, you're a bozo. I can imagine you drinking plastic whiskey. You know what I'm saying? Not hating on a Solo cup, though. Little plastic bottle whiskey. And you know what? He's probably so insane. He probably gets the wild flavored Oreos, like the birthday cake Oreo. He gets the clearance Oreos. Bozo behavior all around.
Jimmy Dore Wikipedia. Dore's father was a policeman who owned a brickwork business and described his father as being a Reagan Democrat. Okay, so like, please get off of me with the, oh, look at how entrenched with cops he is. Look how entrenched with cops you are. Jimmy's an ass clown. I want to talk about some funny stories back from when I was dealing with Jimmy Dore, because there was a time when I really did almost square up with Jimmy Dore, and they had to turn the camera up right when I did. And the video still exists online. So I love this because in the context of Alex Jones getting absolutely roiled in court for all of his lies about Sandy Hook, saying that the children were crisis actors, that the parents were lying, encouraging people to investigate the parents, making the parents who had just suffered their kids dying at the hands of a gunman in an elementary school, and the teachers as well. Their lives were uprooted. They had to move. They had to go around. They had to find new paths of life because this internet jerk couldn't shut up and was choosing to make hundreds and thousands of dollars in revenue, at least monthly from what we can tell, off of spreading conspiracy theories and lies. Alex Jones, as we now know, is going to pay at least $50 million in damages, and more are coming. This investigation is a disaster film. We talked about that a little bit earlier, like last week on Power Report. And yet, 2 years ago, back when Jimmy Dore had a show on TYT, there was an argument about whether or not Alex Jones should have been banned from YouTube or not because of everything he was doing. This is some clip from Aggressive Progressive where basically Steve-O is yelling in Jimmy Dore's face about this Alex Jones stuff. This is to show you how unhinged Jimmy Dore is, how he doesn't really characteristically make sense about a lot of these things. And this is a day I was producing. I was in his ear the whole time. I was in everyone's ear going, we need to go to break. This is a mistake. This is making all of you look ugly. You can have these political opinions, but this is not looking good on you and the network. Here's the clip. We'll walk through it. We'll do like a Sam Cedar Posit style play-by-play, but yeah, here we go.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's show. Let me go to you, Steve. Do you have anything to say?
Well, I mean, look, I don't know why we have to keep going back to Alex Jones as a reason why he should not be censored.
But there has to be a process.
And I don't know, the clips, these edits are being made in the clip I found here. That's like one of the only ways I could find this clip. I couldn't go into the TYT members archive for whatever reason. It's hard to find. But yeah, those edits are not mine. The context is that this is after Alex Jones got banned from YouTube.
In place that is transparent. That is not what's happening. Right now it's happening in secret with warmongering motherfuckers like Henry Kissinger telling...
I agree with you on all of that part, okay? I mean...
So yes, you can take someone down. You have to have a adversarial judicial process.
I don't know what that means. Like a courtroom?
Yes, but you're advocating for billionaire guys in Silicon Valley to decide this all on their own, and you run a fucking media company?
Yes, I am.
And that's what you're advocating for?
Yes, I am.
Really?
Yes, I'm advocating that platforms can take down certain creators.
I can't wait till TYT is taken down for being against a war. You're saying that you're one...
So I need to break down what he's talking about here. Jimmy Dore is saying that you need to, like, there needs to be a court judge type situation if content is censored or taken down from a platform when these platforms are private corporations. Now, I think that these platforms are very, there's a lack of transparency into what gets taken down or what doesn't get taken down on a platform. There's an audio face video where me and Sean are making fun of Kid Rock catching COVID when he was a COVID denier. And YouTube gave us a community strike, 3 strikes and you're off of YouTube forever, for covering that video. We were not spreading COVID misinformation. We were laughing about someone spreading COVID misinformation. And in the appeal, we were told that we were spreading COVID misinformation. That's the algorithmic censorship that Jimmy Dore is talking about. There is no process. There's no actual review, because if a human were actually reviewing that, they would know it's ridiculous in my situation. And leftists deal with this all the time. This is leftist censorship. What we're talking about with Alex Jones here, why Jimmy Dore is making Alex Jones the hill to die on, is because this is about YouTube conspiracy theorists who don't do a lot of reading. Steve-O, a man who I don't personally agree with on, didn't personally agree with on a lot of things at TYT, but I guess we're friendly, is trying to say here that YouTube is a private company. YouTube is a private platform. If they don't want you spreading conspiracy theories about killing kids at Sandy Hook on their platform, making money on their platform, making the rest of their platform looking bad, guess what? They're a private company. They can do that, and you can go on and be a private company elsewhere. Apparently, Alex Jones is making $800,000 a month plus just selling brain force supplements and shit like that. So he was doing pretty damn good without that YouTube money.
Yeah, and I mean, there's of course a larger discussion in between when it comes to censorship and like the regulation of like these copyright strikes and YouTube takedown, like especially something like happened to you guys with Audio Face. It's a big issue on YouTube where only the big streamers can get these appeals properly done, and it's only done to the pressure of the public. They can't even go within internal means to like get their appeals done. They have to like make a public video about it. It gets 1 million views. YouTube looks bad and they flip it or something like that. So that's how it's like, it's extremely inconsistent. And literally you're laughing at someone who was spreading misinformation, but they count you as getting a community strike for misinformation. That's just what? So yeah, it's obviously not the system's not done properly. And let's of course continue the video. Sorry.
No, you're all good. There's good points there.
Mark Zuckerberg, whatever the fuck Zuckerberg's name is.
Why don't you let me finish then?
Okay, I'll let you.
Okay? Instead of keep constantly interrupting, why don't you let me finish?
Okay, I'll let you.
Right? My point is, if you're
at this point, I was probably like in the air going like, let's let the conversation happen. Like, Jimmy, like, chill it. And this is, TYT's not the place where producers are babysitting hosts. Producers are not telling, hey, you're being too loud, or hey, you're being too quiet, or hey, go to the next story. Only if it's something like hey, there's something on your shirt. Like, that's pretty much the only kind of producer note we'll give, right? Jimmy had to be coddled and babied because he was acting like a child here, as you'll continue to see.
Taking anyone down for their political speech, that is totally wrong. And I'm against all of that. What I'm saying is that there are people who violate terms of service and do other things that's not protected speech, and they can be taken down. And here's what I mean by that. For example, if you start showing porn, that's not allowed. You can be taken down for that. If you're harassing individuals and making their lives miserable, they can take you down for that.
Who's they? Can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Who's they?
YouTube or Facebook or
some
Spotify
nameless, unaccountable person.
Yes, they can.
Okay, that is a intellectually lazy position.
No, it's
that
not.
I've debunked a million times here already.
So a platform cannot take down anyone for any reason without a hearing in a court of law?
You can throw someone in jail without a hearing. You mean you have to have a hearing every time you throw someone in jail? Every time you take someone's freedom of speech away?
I never said jail. Did I say jail? Did I say jail?
Okay, so
that's the false equivalency. Okay, that's total fucking bullshit, and you know it. Okay.
So you're saying
Steve went off the handle there, but like that's what everyone does with Jimmy at a certain point, because he's equating like war crimes to being kicked off of YouTube for repeatedly breaking their terms of service. And by the way, like, okay, listen, like, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. The YouTube terms of service is like itchy and glitchy here or there, right? But like, this is, you're lying about a mass shooting where kids died, and you're saying the kids are crisis actors. And you're saying that, oh, the company drawing the line there is authoritarianism, and you're accusing another person, another leftist, or another person on the left in Steve-O. Even assuming that Jimmy's on the left at this point. So saying another is weird, but you're...
Barely.
Yeah, right? Like, you're accusing someone of being a
as much as
warmonger.
Anakin was.
I'm not talking about free speech. I'm talking about the right to be on a platform. That is not free speech.
So you don't think that?
So that is not. So you
disagree
saying,
with the idea of
you
free
were
speech?
No, I'm not. See, that's a straw man bullshit argument.
That's
a bullshit argument.
Let's talk
so
about it.
So why don't you let me finish then?
Okay, I'll let you finish.
You keep interrupting me without letting me finish. So you are saying that YouTube can have, you can create a channel on YouTube under the guise of free speech and say whatever you want as long as you're not taken to court, and the YouTube can't do anything about that?
Yes.
No, that is not the
Yes.
case. Live in the real world, Jimmy.
So, yeah, that's the saying. Like, YouTube is under no responsibility to adhere to the free speech laws of the United States.
No, yeah.
They're incorporated in the United States, but they're a multinational company. So they have to adhere to the free speech laws in China and Germany and Singapore and South Korea and any country where you can access YouTube. If you can even access YouTube in China, I'm not even totally sure about that. But they have to adhere to the free speech requirements, or the speech requirements in general, of wherever they are, because they're a private business. When the United States Postal Service creates their own video sharing platform, then they might have to adhere by free speech laws. That might be a different conversation. But until the United States Postal Service creates their competitor to YouTube, which would only happen in some antitrust lovely universe that only I can imagine, we could also do postal banking, you're not going to live in that world. Private corporations can decide what goes on their platform, what doesn't go on their platform. And we can talk about those perverse incentives all day. I would love to. But to make Alex Jones the hill you die on, and to equate that to people who have actually faced government accountability, who have actually faced government overreach in situations of war. Is Alex Jones what is it, Julian Assange now? Is Alex Jones that guy who uncovered Edward Snowden? Is Alex Jones and Edward Snowden the same thing, Jimmy Dore? That's the implication based off of Jimmy Dore's logic, because Jimmy Dore is not actually applying logic. And he has a show. He has a show at a desk right here on TYT's payroll at the time, where he's supposed to be speaking from a place of authority. And you can watch my other videos on youtube.com/DanForTheInternet, where you talk about my internal struggles at the company, where I actually butt heads with Jank about having Jimmy Dore there because of moments like this. But let me continue here.
Can I go outside and hang a naked poster on our city streets? No, I cannot. You know what that is? Censorship. There are laws, time, place, or manner restrictions on every form of speech there's ever been. So you're claiming that on any social media platform that any creator can put anything up there at any time for any reason and no one can do anything about it without a court hearing? That is a ridiculous position.
So you're cool with them taking Telesur down?
No, I'm not. I am not. That's not the same thing.
But
that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. You keep complaining. Look,
So
Jimmy.
You're endorsing that process.
Your job as a journalist is to parse out what's right and what's wrong, not throw a giant blanket over everything and create a false equivalency.
Exactly, because again, this can feel like the weeds here. I was so in my feelings about this day and this moment that like I'm now watching this backwards. I'm like, damn.
He did drop some bars on them.
Yeah, because Jimmy Dore was equating Telesur to Alex Jones, all right? I love that I'm on the podcast with Cesar, someone from like Latin America, who can talk a little bit of the context of Telesur and how that is a legitimate news organization.
On God, tears in my eyes right now. That statement.
Yeah, Telesur was alternative news representation, partially sponsored by the government of Venezuela, but it was an alternative to news, especially covering Latin America, because the history of Latin America and the 20th century is the United States coming in and fucking it up. It's the United States coming in, and like giving their own narrative. And so leftists love organizations like Telesur, like Al Jazeera, like, I'll be honest, RT when it existed, because they had faults. RT, honestly, like as an RT like consumer from time to time, and
RT
I definitely
used to go hard. RT used to go really hard.
I'll say RT went hardest like maybe 10 years ago when they had Abby Martin, when they had Chris Hedges before he went super off the rails. Like you had to just be a smart media consumer back then and go, listen, when RT is talking about the Russian government, RT is Russia Today. They're technically partially owned by the Russian government, and that's why they're no longer in existence in America after the invasion of Ukraine. You just have to kind of understand that, okay, Russia Today probably has a little bit of an agenda when they're talking about Russian affairs. But it was a 24-hour network where you talk to people, like I've spoken to Abby Martin, I've talked to other people who've been on that network, and they said, no, I had total editorial freedom and would have left if I didn't. Abby Martin left the moment she started getting pushback from RT on the way she was covering Russia. All right, so Al Jazeera. I think they're really good until they start talking about the Saudi Arabian government, until they start talking about certain oil dealings. But they're incredible coverage of the Middle East and what goes on there. All right? I will say this again for the people in the back. Alex Jones is a conspiracy theorist who sells brain supplements that don't work, who said that kids who got murdered at a shooting at an elementary school were crisis actors, and encourage his audience of millions of people to go after them. There's Telesur, there's Al Jazeera, and there's Alex Jones. Which one of these is not like the other? This is a game that is far too complicated for the level of lack of brain vibration that Jimmy Dore functions at.
Comparing Telesur to a man who said they're putting chemicals in the water to make the frogs gay is just like, my man, there's reaching and then there's just... What are you doing?
Telesur being taken down is totally different than Alex Jones being taken down because he is harassing victims of Newtown and directing people to stop them.
Steve.
Okay? That's a totally different thing.
You're advocating for a dark system with no accountability.
No, I am not.
Steve.
You're the Bolsonaro.
You're advocating for a dark system with no accountability. I want to play that part one more time because it's like everything we've been yelling about for the past 10 minutes in the most succinct way possible.
Look,
so
Jimmy,
you're endorsing that process.
Your job as a journalist is to parse out what's right and what's wrong, not throw a giant blanket over everything and create a false equivalency. Telesur being taken down is totally different than Alex Jones being taken down because he is harassing victims of Newtown and directing people to stop them.
Steve.
Okay? That's a totally different thing.
You're advocating for a dark system with no accountability.
No, I am not.
So you're saying that an adversarial judicial process with an impartial judge which follows the law and the Constitution is not any better than Mark Zuckerberg and
that is
Henry
totally
Kissinger
separate.
in secret
Totally
deciding
separate.
this
totally
shit?
Separate. Totally separate.
That's
totally
what you're
separate.
saying?
It's totally separate.
And you're a lawyer.
You're totally,
and you're a
I'm
fucking
a lawyer.
and you're the head of a media company
I'm a
on
lawyer.
the internet. And
I'm a lawyer.
And so you disagree with Matt Taibbi?
No, I don't.
He's absolutely lost his goddamn marbles. What?
I had to deal with this every week. Every week. This is my job.
Like literally, not even trying to be hate or ageist or anything, but like literally just like the most like dumb brain boomer behavior to like you, and it literally it speaks to exactly what you said on consistent behavior, where it's you can't necessarily your proper points and everything you said that's correct goes unheard because he's yelling slowly over you, like slowly saying words very loudly over you in an aggressive fashion when it's like, dog, it's okay to know you're wrong. Like, don't be a bozo, as they said in the chat.
Bozo behavior, as it's Allman said. That's good. We're gonna have to do a new thing. Let's work on this. Jimmy Bozo Dore.
Yeah, we're gonna have bozo of the day, like donkey of the day. We're gonna have bozo of the day.
PowerPort Bozo of the Week. We'll work on that. We got something cooking here. See,
I like that.
But Jimmy, when he lost his shit over Francesca Fiorentina, calling her a page chill in Twitter DMs while he was in Italy. By the way, there's an actual video we posted on Aggressive Progressives called "What Jimmy Did on His Trip to Italy." Because at certain points, he would just stop hosting his show and start rambling on about dumb shit he was just doing in his life. There were certain episodes where he would just talk about his tie and his talk about his sport coat and the sport coats of other people who were on the show for about 30 minutes of time.
He just wanted to hear himself talk. That's what he liked.
Oh, totally. But yeah, the unhinged yelling behavior that you get from him that we're going to like recontextualize back with Nina Turner moment is just so much. And George asked a really good question. What were you saying in Jimmy's ear as a producer when he was yelling at Steve? Break. That was me. I was trying, and like, this is Jimmy's ear. It's on the same channel as everyone on the panel. So I don't remember off my head if everyone on the panel were wearing IFBs. Honestly, everyone hates to wear IFBs because honestly, they are really effing annoying to have in your ear. But Jimmy definitely heard me. I'm 50-50 on Steve hearing me, which is probably why Steve was cooling it. But also Steve was, in that case, a rational person. But I was just going, break. Like, I was halfway, like, kind of, it was kind of, I'm glad this exists online. I'm glad I made the producer call to not cut it off because this needs to be seen. But other producers might have cut this off a minute ago so this wouldn't air on stream because this is fucking embarrassing. Let's finish this out.
An adversarial judicial process with an impartial judge which follows the law and the Constitution is not any better than Mark Zuckerberg and
that is
Henry
totally
Kissinger
separate.
in secret deciding this shit.
Totally separate.
That's what you're saying?
It's totally separate.
And you're a lawyer. And you're a fucking lawyer. And you're the head of a media company on the internet.
I'm a lawyer.
And so you disagree with Matt Taibbi?
No, I don't.
You are disagreeing with him.
No, I don't.
You are. And you're disagreeing with Chomsky.
I'm not.
And you're disagreeing with me.
No,
and
this
you're
is what you always do, Jimmy. You throw a giant blanket.
Dude,
I disagree with
I'm fucking telling.
I want to go into this really fast because it's going to keep escalating in this 20 seconds shouting match we have left. But it keeps getting worse. He is advocating for cults of personality. So you would disagree with Matt Taibbi? Who the fuck is Matt Taibbi? Like, this clip is from 2018, but Matt Taibbi has got off the complete deep fucking end. He's the same sort of like ideologue who is writing Substacks and chasing clicks and chasing tweets and likes and favorites by having contrarian opinions, which is fine, totally. I love having hot takes. I love like confusing people with a take and then like bring them into my point. It's like, Dan from the Internet 101, right? But there's no substance here. There's no ideology here. It's all bullshit. But the way he goes, oh, you disagree with me? You disagree with Noam Chomsky? You disagree with Matt Taibbi? It's all to Jimmy Dore at the time, and it is to this point. It's a club of people who agree with him. He finds people who he knows are smarter than him, who agree with him, and then leans on them heavily. He doesn't do any of the work. The producer before him, me, and the producer after him, and the producer after that producer would produce stories every week, in addition to the other shit that they had going on, because Aggressive Progressives was not our only job. It was one of our 3 or 4 jobs there as producers, to do other shows as well. We'd produce stories for Jimmy, up his wheelhouse, in his interest, things he would like, with as much factual credence as we could. He would ignore them. He would do his own show. He'd talk about ties. He would read nothing and just talk and talk and talk and usually just yell and get angry at things and filibuster the show. The panelists were just there to talk and so and say, yeah, sure, you're totally right. Yeah, sure. And give like 1 second points here or there, which I try to be careful about making Power Report become that thing because I have to like host and give commentary at the same time. But he yells and screams and doesn't read and doesn't do any research before, during, or after the show. And he is a person who is expected to be a news commentator people learn from. That's the shit that got me really upset fundamentally at TYT when he was employed by Cenk. And that's now over. Like that ultimately like resolved itself out. I encourage people to actually like watch that video to see what's going on. But that's kind of like how that resolved itself. Jimmy is absolutely unhinged, and it continues here. I will say, if you hear in this clip very carefully, you'll hear a door open. That's me walking into the studio.
You exactly what you're telling me.
I disagree with
There's
you on
no
the
defending what you're defending.
No,
You're defending opaque,
No, I'm not. You're putting words in my mouth, and you're
not defending that?
I'm not. No, I'm not. We're done. Go to break or whatever. This is ridiculous.
Very, very faintly, you'll hear me.
I'm not.
We're done.
No, I'm not.
Not defending that?
I'm not. No, I'm not.
That little voice in the background when you hear the door close, where I'm yelling, wrap it up, wrap it up. That's me. And like Steve finally gets the idea there too.
We're done. Go to break or whatever. This is ridiculous.
That's what I was yelling to do as well. Go to break. I'll play that part one more time in case people don't hear it.
You're defending opaque,
No, I'm not. You're putting words in my mouth, and you're
not defending that?
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Wrap it up. That's what I'm yelling.
God. Just
that was supposed to be an 8-minute segment that ended up being extended shouting match. That thankfully it exists, that this person caught it and was able to clip it, and I can show it now 2 years ago with that backwards commentary. Just be like, yo, this is who Jimmy Dore is. This is how he acts. This is how he behaves. This is how he's always been. And now he's taken this to a right-wing bent and a focus. So for the people who take him seriously, probably not watching this stream right now. God bless you. Maybe not even watching this video as it comes out of the clip. God bless you. For the people who know people who take Jimmy Dore seriously and see that online, show them this. Show them his behavioral patterns. Show him how he reacted with Katie Halper. Show him how he acted with Francesca. Show him how he's constantly yelling over people and then hides it by the fact that, oh, he's just angry. Oh, he's just passionate about the issues. Stop talking about Nina Turner's relationship to cops, his secret relationships to cops. Jimmy Dore's dad's a cop. This man's a liar. This man's a fake. This man's a phony. I'm so sick of every single time he comes out and does one of these lies. I have to come out and like set the record straight, but I will every single time. I feel like I owe something, given that I worked on that show and contributed to this bullshit for a while. I feel like this is some like apology I can make to this, to cover this every single time and expose him for who he really is.